Welcome to Between the Shelves, the premier Savo Library podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and this week I am joined by Jonathan, the head of our community outreach department. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi there, Alex. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I'm also joined by Erin, our latest and greatest addition to the adult services department. Hi, Erin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thanks again for coming. This is not going to be a painful experience, I promise. Hopefully we'll have you back again.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. What is your greatest fear? No, I'm kidding. So we like to start the podcast by just talking about what we're into right now. It's just a better way to learn about your local librarians by what they're interested in. So does anyone want to start off? I don't mind starting.
I don't care. I can jump in and start if you want.
Yeah.
So two things that I'm into right now, like off the top of my head, are motorcycles, because I got my motorcycle license in 2022. And so I'm a motorhead right now, kind of a closet motorhead, like investigating all sorts of things about motorcycles and riding techniques and things like that. And then the other adventure that I have in my life is my little dog that we were talking about before, my new little puppy Daisy, who is my little sock monster. Stealing everything, and she's a mix between a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and a Cocker Spaniel, and she definitely, like I was saying before, has more of the Cocker Spaniel in her because she is a huntress, big time. So
yeah, I have a dachshund.
Keeping me busy.
The tiny warriors.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They know no bounds.
Are you going to get a little side cart for your motorcycle? For Daisy?
I don't think Daisy will stay in it.
Yeah, you have to strap her down.
I'll be parked on the side of the road running down after her. Daisy, come back. We've already done a little bit of that. Like, she got out once, so that was very, yes. So, so that keeps me very busy right now. And on the side, I also have my private pilot's license, as I think you know, Alex. So anything to do with flying, I'm always into aviation.
Yeah, if you're not flying down the highway on your motorcycle, you're
flying.
A
little bit of that, right? Well, when I can't afford to fly because I still rent, then I hop on the motorcycle, and it's a similar effect. It's a similar feeling. So, yeah, exactly.
That's great.
So,
yeah,
so
I
it's
know.
fun.
Getting a motorcycle during the pandemic with the shortage of everything, the supply chain
was crazy.
Yeah,
exactly. It was a crazy experience. I had called several dealers when I could finally figure out and felt like I knew enough about what I wanted, because depending on the type of bike that you buy, there's all different kinds of bikes to buy, and then each bike style has its own unique riding position. So you really have to know ahead of time if you're going to wind up hunched over on a particular bike or if you're going to be upright. I like to be upright because I'm not looking to do like 100 down the
yeah, like the ninja style bikes,
no, those are fun, but it's just not the kind of riding that I do. I'm a little bit more slower and a bit more cautious. That's like the pilot side of me. That's, think before you act. So, so it was fun trying to look for a motorcycle. A lot of dealers didn't have any stock. So you would look on a particular manufacturer's website and it would say that they were in stock, but you'd call the dealer and they would say, well, no, we can order them for you. Everything was a special order scenario where you basically had to buy blind,
Right.
And
everything on the showroom floor was taken. So
yes, absolutely. Or everything on the showroom floor was used. And, if you wanted to buy a new bike, it was really hard to do that. But I did finally find one that was in stock. And the minute I sat on it, I was like, this just works for me. And then that's the one that I bought. So, and I've been having fun zipping around our town with that. So,
are you planning any trips?
Oh, not on this bike because it's very small. This particular motorcycle is meant for city driving. So it's meant to be a city getabout, point A to point B in a town, which is perfect for our area. So it's great to run little errands. Everything becomes an adventure. Like going to the supermarket becomes an adventure. You see the road and you see your town through a totally different set of eyes that you would never have when you're...
So how does one carry their groceries back home on a motorcycle? You're not holding them on the handlebars.
Well, I kind of found out the hard way, and I did not come well equipped on my first outing, which happened to just be like to a local drugstore to go pick up like some small items. And then I realized when I walked out of said store that walking back to my very small little bike that I had nothing to go home with. And so fortunately, my motorcycle jacket, like you have a special jacket for riding. It's a much more heavier grade material, so it can, withstand an impact. God forbid that happens. But it has a lot of pockets. And shoved shampoo in one pocket. I had soap in another pocket. I had toothpaste in another pocket, and could barely move driving back home. But like I said, it was an adventure, and it was a new way to do things that you take for granted every day. So now I have
spicing up even the most mundane.
That's right. Yes,
experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I have a little seat pack for it, and it doesn't hold much, but I can put a small bag of items in there. So.
Nice. Jonathan has a leather biker's jacket with Sayville Library's logo and
absolutely
embroidered on the back. Yeah, with flames coming off of it.
Oh, you got it. I am totally incognito when I ride.
Yeah, everyone in Sayville knows you, so you have to always keep your helmet on.
I have to. Yeah, it's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's fun. It's fun.
Nice.
No.
Okay, well now what I'm into sounds boring compared to motorcycles.
Mine too, yeah.
Very cool. Erin, do you want to go next, or I can go?
I'll go.
Okay.
So right now, I've honestly been binge watching Downton Abbey, even though I've seen it.
Very nice.
I watched the second film, and I just got I was like, let me watch the first few episodes again, just so and I sat there and I keep watching it, and I'll watch at least 2 episodes a night, and it'll be late, and I'll be like, I really need to go to bed, but I don't remember what happens next, so I want to watch it. And even my husband will sit and watch it with me, and he'll ask me all kinds of questions, and I'll be like, just wait. I cannot explain all this. This is way too involved for you to understand what's going on right now. You missed too many episodes. You're just going to have to wait. So that, and just honestly, anything to do with food. I've been really getting more involved. I watch a lot of the Great British Baking Show and things like that.
Yeah,
lately, sure. I've been doing more with reading cookbooks and trying new recipes and new baking recipes and getting more adventurous. I just made my first curry a couple of months ago, which was an experience because you have curry in a restaurant and you understand what it tastes like, but then when you're making it, you're making curry paste and you stick your face into the blender. That is a whole nother sensation of just all of the garlic and the ginger and the onion just hitting you in the face. You're like, whoa, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this is wrong, but no.
Strong, loud flavors.
Exactly, yeah. So that, I've been doing that too. And I've been taking my son with me. He's 13, so I've been trying to get him because he likes cooking and baking. So we've been doing some of that together.
Very nice.
So that's been nice too.
I've been doing a little bit of that myself. We'll get into this later in the episode when we talk about our previous work experience. But I do a lot of cooking myself, and I'm trying to get my son involved. He's much younger. He's 2, so he's not doing his culinary skills are pretty lacking.
He's a young apprentice,
but he's very curious about it. So he all the games he plays on his iPad. They all involve cooking. So I'm trying to help him go, learn little things here and there. He has his own knife set. I know 2-year-olds with knives, but they're plastic. You couldn't cut yourself with them.
Yeah.
But he's basically just chopping bananas.
Oh, cute.
But, learning to cook is such an important skill. And
sure.
So I'm trying to get it instilled in him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's great. I love curry. I went through a curry phase myself. And it's fun to cook. It's pungent, aromatic. Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with it, which I didn't realize, So I'm looking to experiment with a lot of different types of food and trying different things and getting my kids to try different kinds of things because they're fairly open-minded food-wise, which is nice. Yeah. Like my older son, I wasn't expecting him to like the curry because that has a little bit of heat to it, not a lot. And I was just waiting for this is too hot. But that didn't happen. I was like, okay.
I did it, right?
Okay, this is good. So it's just moving on from there. But part of it is, and we're going to talk about this later, I know, is finding the time.
Yeah,
indeed.
And the energy to be like, do I really want to try a new recipe tonight? Do I really want to do that?
But if cooking is your hobby, at least it's kind of like killing 2 birds with one stone. Yeah. Like I can do my hobby and serve the function of feeding my family at the same time. Where
that's right.
A motorcycle, you can't. Well, I guess you're doing grocery shopping. You can get stuff done.
Yeah, you can. You can get stuff done. I mean, you can't. I'm exploring the idea of maybe a cup holder, but there is absolutely no way you can drink anything and ride a motorcycle. You'll totally be wearing it or the wind will take it up your face and, around your helmet.
Maybe
it'd be awesome.
Fix the cup holders to the helmet with the straw.
I know straw would be very necessary because I've tried before. If I've just tried to adjust my glasses, you wind up hitting the side of the helmet and you don't realize that your glasses are like 4 inches deep inside a big piece of plastic, and it's very difficult to fix things once the helmet is on. So, but I did get, it's a little audio piece that will enable me to call or to speak to another rider while I'm riding. It's kind of like a little aviation headset type of thing made for motorcycles, but I have to take the motorcycle helmet apart to get it inside. So I might just, get really lazy and bring it up to the bike shop and be like, can you fix this? And just ask them to.
So this allows you to talk to other motorcycles?
It does. It's an intercom. So, and this one, I think it can handle at least 4 or 5 other riders. I mean, I don't picture myself having that many people to talk with. Like, I don't think there's a Librarian bike pack out there someplace. Either that or now they're going to come find me.
You can start one. There you go.
But so that'll help me communicate while I'm riding. So
interesting.
But yeah. So that's
is it like? Do they have to be in close proximity, or is it more like a radio?
Within like a half mile?
Okay.
Yep. The higher end intercom headsets that you buy have a better range and better capability. I bought a mid-grade because I still don't know what I'm doing yet, so I didn't want to go really beginner grade, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot, so I kind of just went right down the middle. But riding season is almost upon us, like spring is coming. So I have to get that headset organized really quickly. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So it's
cool.
It's definitely a learning experience, big time.
You're not listening to Libby audiobooks while you're riding the
No. No, right now I'm too new. It's kind of like focus on the road, look for other cars.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, here I'll talk about what I'm into. Yeah. I have 2 things. So I don't know. I doubt either of you have heard of this, but in my circles, this was a big news story that came out a couple of weeks ago. The creators of Dungeons and Dragons, the role-playing game, were in a little bit of hot water because they were changing the way they licensed Dungeons and Dragons to the public. So previously, if you wanted to make, say, a podcast about Dungeons and Dragons, you could do that. It was fine. But now they wanted to start charging content creators who are using their materials, which they got a lot of backlash, and they ended up backing down. But in the meantime, in that month period where they were still on the fence and they were getting a lot of hate from the community about this, independent role playing games like tripled their sales because everyone was leaving Dungeons and Dragons to go try other stuff. And I love the independent stuff. Like, Dungeons and Dragons, I played since I was a kid. It's it's a classic, but it gets kind of stale in my opinion. Right. So I like to see what other people are doing. And my favorite independent publisher is called Free League Publishing, or Fria Liga. They're from Sweden. Okay. And they've recently, I think it was a year or 2 ago, during the pandemic, they got the license to make an Alien role-playing game. Alien, the movie Alien. Awesome. Which is, I'm a huge Alien fan. So this is like my 2 worlds colliding. It's a beautiful, the book itself is beautiful. It's super high quality. The artwork in it is fantastic. It has, if you're an Alien fan, it has the entire chronology of all of the films and the novelizations, all like condensed, so you can kind of reference it as you're playing the game. It's great. If you're an Alien fan, you should have it in your collection, even if you never play. So I love this company. I try to support them when I can. And they just this year, they got the license for Blade Runner, the film. Ooh. So I just got the Blade Runner book, and I love the film, but I'd never read the book it's based off of, the Philip K. Dick novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is what it's called. So I finally got around to reading that, and it's so good. So I'm in like a Blade Runner headspace right now. It's I wish I'd read it earlier. It's so good. It's what every good sci-fi novel should be. It uses the setting and the world to kind of address philosophical questions, I guess. And I guess the main one of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is, what does it mean to be human? Right. Because it's all kind of an interplay between androids who are synthetic humans and actual humans. And, some characters are kind of androgynous. Is that the right word? You don't know who they are.
Yes.
And so it kind of tackles that question. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. So that's one thing I'm into right now. The other thing is a podcast, and I know it's not good form to promote other podcasts on your podcast, but it's what I'm into right now. It's called Dead Eyes.
Okay.
It is. It actually just finished. I guess you could call it a mini series. It's not an ongoing podcast. It has a start and a finish. I think it's 30 episodes. It's run by. Well, I guess it's only one person. It's Connor Ratliff, who is a comedian actor. And the entire premise of the podcast is Connor was 20 years ago. Do you remember the show Band of Brothers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he got a role on Band of Brothers. He was very young, like early 20s. And he was fired from the show by Tom Hanks.
Ooh.
And he found out, he came to find out that Tom Hanks fired him because he had quote unquote dead eyes.
Huh.
So the entire podcast is him trying to get to the root of, is this true? What happened? Because he was like on set basically ready to film the next day, and then he was fired.
Oh my word.
So it's kind of like a setup like a true crime podcast where, he's kind of piecing the puzzle together. But now, 20 years later, he's a well-established actor. He's well-connected. So every episode he brings on like A-list celebrities who are tangentially related to Band of Brothers or him as an actor.
Got it.
So
Okay.
it's funny, but it's also a little touching because he talks a lot about like the struggles of being an actor and rejection, all this stuff. So it's really good, and I'm only halfway through it. I know how it ends, and it ends the way the podcast should end, where he interviews Tom Hanks.
Oh,
So I'm
drama.
really looking forward to it. He's not, so much time has passed. He's not like holding a grudge anymore. It's not like that at all.
Of course not.
But it's really funny. It's very good. Every episode's about a half an hour roughly, and they all go around a central theme. But even in the 12 episodes or so I've listened to, they've had amazing guests like John Hamm, Ron Livingston, who is like the lead of Band of Brothers. Yeah. Who else? Seth Rogen was on it. A whole bunch of like A-list celebrities because he's friends with all these people. So I highly recommend it. And that's what I'm into right now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about... I've already talked about this at length, but you can talk about some of your favorite books you read last year.
Awesome.
Okay, we're back. So let's talk our favorite books of 2022. What did y'all read last year?
Shall I jump in?
Sure.
All right, thank you, Erin. So, in keeping with my conundrum with how to raise my cocklear, I wound up finding one of the best books to help raise a dog, to help train a dog. And I found it by way of a patron's reference request that came to the library here. And the patron came up to me and was busy training a dog. And she had done it before and said that she had used a book that was incredible, but she had a little trouble remembering the exact title. So we did a little sleuthing online, and then lo and behold, we found it, and it's called Good Owners, Great Dogs by Brian Kilcommons. And what an amazing book. After I reserved it for her, I quickly ran to my bookstore, and I grabbed a copy of this because I was in dire need of training my dog, and she was really running the house, and I needed to turn the tables. And I have to say, this book is amazing for training a puppy. Just very sound advice. Brian Kilcommons apparently is very experienced. It's the first book I've read of his, but very experienced in training, all sorts of breeds. And it's so easily laid out. It's just laid out in topics. So, for instance, like I was in dire need of finding the chapter on biting. I needed to fix that. And it was a great, very simple, way to train them, and it's working. I would say Daisy is a work in progress, but we're doing less of biting, and she's coming around. She's coming around. So, Good Owners, Great Dogs, excellent book. So, and then my other book that I go to often is believe it or not, and you're going to chuckle, this is the New York State Motorcycle Manual. So I have to if people aggravate me and they do dumb things,
laugh
like when I'm writing, like then I have to go back and look it up and be like, see, I was right, but at any rate. And then there's also the safety aspect of it, just trying to make sure, because when you buy a tiny motorcycle, you realize how small you are on the road compared to everybody else. And so you have to make sure that you know what you are doing, because you'll wind up in situations where you need to know what the rules are supposed to be, so that you can anticipate when people don't follow the rules, and save yourself, so that you can live to ride another day.
Yeah, you don't end up a pancake.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So Daisy cannot have a pancake for an owner, so that doesn't, that wouldn't work. So those are my two that I've been reading faithfully. And then just for flying, I always go back to Cessna has an operational manual for the 172R, which is the plane I trained on. So I always go back to that just to kind of stay fresh on all the aircraft systems and things like that, so that when you climb on board and you're getting ready to fly, there is no time to go look something up. You have to really have it right at the front of your mind. So it's one of those things where you just have to keep practicing your knowledge and making sure that you're crisp, so that when air traffic asks you to do something, you can comply, and you can make sure that your plane is still going to fly in a coordinated way while you're doing what air traffic control is asking you to do. So those are my 3 reads that I'm working on.
Very practical reads, especially
yes.
Not with
Save your tail. That's exactly
read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for 2022, I actually read a lot more than I used to read. I started reading more during the pandemic, during lockdown. I wasn't reading before, and I was able to finally start reading fiction again. So my favorite fiction book of last year was a book called Where I Can't Follow by Ashley Blooms, which was actually published in 2022. And it's like a take on magical realism. So it's about this county in Kentucky where some people get what they term doors, that suddenly one day a door will just appear in some kind of form. It can just be a hole in the wall. It can be, something else. And eventually they have to make the decision of whether or not to go through that door and never come back. No one knows where it goes. Or to tell the door to go away, and the door will disappear. And so the main character, of course, her door arrives. And her mother had taken the door years ago when she was a child and never come back. So she's dealing with that. She's dealing with a lot of things. And the county itself is dealing with the opioid epidemic.
Oh, wow.
So it discusses that too. That comes into the story as well. So basically it's about this, young woman trying to figure out, whether she keeps kind of pushing through all the difficulties that she's faced with in life, or if she just takes the door. Yeah. So I thought it was really well written. I thought the idea of it was really interesting, especially if you look at it, with the opioid epidemic, that idea of people taking opioids to escape, and going through a door in a sense. And this is like a different kind of door. So that I really liked. I read a lot of actually good fiction, but that was the one that stuck with me for some reason. I would just describe it to people. And I don't normally talk about books that I'm reading to people and be like, blah, 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 blah. But I kept talking about that one. The other one was, I usually listen to nonfiction in the car as an audiobook. And my favorite of last year was, it's an older book. It's Julie and Julia, 365 Days, 524 Recipes, One Tiny Apartment Kitchen by Julie Powell, which became a movie, Julie and Julia.
Yes.
And I've watched the movie several times, and because I've been so interested in food, I decided, let me listen to her read the book. And I happened to be listening to her reading the book when she passed away last year, which was really actually kind of difficult, because then, the next time I was listening to it, it's her reading the audiobook, and it's that's really tragic because she was young. But she just has a very strong personality. I don't know, did you ever read that?
I've watched the movie several times. Nora Ephron movie, it's great.
Yeah, but she has a very strong yet kind of vulnerable personality, and it comes out a lot in her writing. She's very approachable, she's very fallible, she's got a really good sense of humor. So it was just really enjoyable, especially listening to her mess things up in the kitchen. It makes me feel a lot better because I mess things up, and she's talking about throwing a tantrum. It's like, oh, I feel so much better now. About the occasions, when someone comes in the kitchen, like, what are you making? Nothing, It didn't work, but it's nice.
So did reading that book inspire you to start cooking, or were you already interested
I was already interested. Yeah, I've always liked food programs and things. I've always liked food. Big food fan. But I just decided to start really exploring more of that myself and in different avenues other than just watching like a cooking competition. You know, what can I do myself and how can I kind of broaden what we're eating? You know, it can't be tacos every other night. As easy and as enjoyable as that is, you know, what else can I do here? So it
is nice to hear when things fail because, you know, so much of cooking is trial and error too. It's, you know, it's muscle, it becomes muscle memory, but just translating something from a recipe, especially with something foreign, not meaning like international, just something you've never attempted before.
Exactly, yeah.
It's hard to like put words to, okay, I have fire in front of me and all these ingredients, I need to put this together.
Yeah. Well, that was what was nice about the book too, because Julie Powell, you know, goes through, because she's doing Julia Child's, you know, the what is it, the Art of French Cooking. Yeah, and it's such a complicated, like some of the things she's talking about, like she's making aspics. I'm like, what is an aspic? But these are things that people used to eat, and she's like talking about how she's practically torturing her and her husband trying to make these things because they don't like them, but they are still. She needs to make all the recipes because that is what she has set for herself to do in a year. She's going to make every recipe in the book, and some of them I'm just like, oh, and some of them just sound so complicated. But she did it as someone who liked to cook but wasn't an overly experienced cook. Yeah, just kind of took it on and. You know, it became a journey. It didn't just become
exactly
about
what
food.
I was just
it
became
about this journey and this growth of a person. So,
well, it started as a blog, didn't it?
Yeah.
So how does it translate from a blog to a book? Did she rewrite it, or is it more about her journey?
She's reflecting on it. Like she goes through, she talks about the blog, and she talks about, you know, everything else that was going on, and some of the stuff she takes, you know, somewhat from the blog, and other things are just other things that she probably. Although I've heard, I never read the blog, I've heard that she was pretty upfront in the blog about different things going on and stuff like that.
So you listened to this on audiobook, you said?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you, you mentioned that you listen to nonfiction?
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I can't listen to fiction for some reason. I can only listen to nonfiction and audiobooks. Something about listening to fiction, I just space out and
you
I
just
lose
tune
the
out.
thread.
I can relate to that.
Where nonfiction kind of stays on point.
Yes.
Where, you know, I talked about this in a previous episode, so I'm repeating myself. Okay. But I don't know. Is that has anyone else found that to be true, or is it just me? Something's wrong with my brain.
I've had discussions with people who I've told them that I listen to audiobooks, to nonfiction audiobooks, and they've told me that they can't keep track. They start phasing out. You know, when they're listening to it, and I do too, especially because I'm driving most of the time, or I'm folding laundry or whatever I'm doing. But it, you know, if I need to go back, I go back. It's not a big deal. Or if I miss like a little detail, I'm not, you know, reading about like motorcycle safety or something. So it's not like I really have to focus really intently because it's important. It's just something that interests me. So I don't have an issue with it. I've only listened to one fiction book, Where the Crawdads Sing. And I don't know if I could have gotten through it if I read it. And I don't know why. Just something about listening to the language. I think if I had read it, I might have put it down. Yeah. I just prefer nonfiction. Something about listening to it. It almost feels like a lecture, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But even memoir. Like I listen to like this. I like that some of the memoirs I've listened to have been by the author. Like Viola Davis's memoir I listened to, and it was her. And she just won the Emmy for that. And she should have, because it was incredible. And I just had a conversation with a colleague at another library, and they were talking about how they read the book and they had issues reading it. Like there were parts of it that they didn't like and things like that, or parts of it that they didn't understand entirely. And I was like, I didn't have that problem at all because I was listening to her tell me. Right. So to me, I didn't have any of those issues.
Yeah, memoirs lend themselves beautifully to audiobooks, almost only if it's read by the author themselves.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because they add their own. They know the inflections, they know the story by heart, so it's almost like listening to a story as opposed to somebody reading off of a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
I've had so many patrons share with me too, just here at the library, that for audiobooks, it's almost more about their enjoyment of the narrator's voice and the way the narrator reads the story. It's almost more so for the enjoyment of that than it is for the story itself. And I'm a big nonfiction guy as well. So honestly, that's just where I gravitate. So even if I were to go pick up an audiobook, it would be on a nonfiction topic. That's just where my interests are, but I can totally understand like the narration point of it. Sometimes you find someone's voice that you enjoy, and that just kind of helps you on that escape. If you're looking for your read to be an escape, to just enjoy a story being read, which is really interesting that we still, as adults, we still like to go back to that story hour in us, that time as kids, when we may have spent time with the children's librarians and had a story read to us.
Yeah.
We still enjoy that. There's something about that. Somebody needs to do a study on that.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny you mentioned that, and the more we do this podcast, the more we keep circling back to the similar talking points. In I believe it's episode 4 with Carrie and Meg. Listeners will know, but we talked about this for quite a while. Like the Meg mentioned that there's an I'm sorry I forget the narrator's name, but there's a narrator she loves. My wife loves her too, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on her name. But they will read books just because this narrator is reading it, because she's so good at it.
Yes.
And likewise, the other point you were making, Carrie mentioned how we were talking about would you like to have the experience of reading your first book again for the first time? And she mentioned that her favorite book was actually read to her. So she talked about how that is so much a part of the experience and how great that is, and maybe that's why audiobooks are so appealing. I know almost every librarian I've spoken to in the podcast has mentioned how Libby has changed the way they read. Having things read to them, it's kind of like a little bit of a comfort.
Sure, exactly.
Podcasts similar. It's very similar.
I find too that this point that I'm going to say kind of goes both ways for me. But sometimes if I just want to get through a particular book, like there's a lot of content, and I just want to absorb as much as I can as quickly as I can because I'm short on time, I might run to the audiobook.
Yeah.
So that I just kind of listen along, I get my points, and then I move on to the next chapter. But sometimes, there's the magic of having like the old-fashioned book in your hand. Sometimes if I'm reading and I just want to be expedient, like I like the fact that I can just flip back with a thumb. It almost has something to do with muscle memory. And I just kind of know where the spot is in the book that I read, and I just want to go back and review, and I flip back to it, get it, and then I zip on to the next portion of what I'm reading, but that probably reveals a lot about how I read. Like I don't read one book at a time, or I don't listen to one thing at a time. I usually have a stack, and I don't know if I have like an attention problem, or something like that, where I can't keep my attention for long. But I usually have like 5 or 6 things that I just kind of circle through, and I'll put one book down, and then I'll get interested in another topic and read about something else, and then I circle back to the other thing in my pile. So it takes me forever to get through something because I'm never reading one thing all the way through, at a time. So
I'm the opposite. I am one audiobook and one physical book at a time, and it's usually one fiction, one nonfiction. I can't read 2 fiction at the same time because then the worlds start to bleed together and it's a mess. But that's how. And even if I don't enjoy the book, I've gotten better about this now, but I used to kind of trudge through a book even if I wasn't enjoying it, just because I'm like a completionist mentality or something. But I've gotten better about abandoning a book if it's not giving me pleasure to read.
Yeah. That's right.
This gets me to the point I wanted, or the topic I wanted to discuss a little bit with you two, is finding the time to read. As our lives, we're getting older, we have more responsibilities. Sure. We have our hobbies, that we also are not book related. That we, the little time we have, we need to enjoy those too. So I'm wondering, do you have maybe like a routine that you follow to get to reading it, to get your reading in, or your practices? Do you set a goal for yourself, or is it just catch as catch can?
It's very much catch as catch can. With the audiobooks, it's easy because if I'm in the car, or like I said, if I'm home and I'm upstairs folding laundry or something, I'll turn the audiobook on because it's on my phone. So that's easier. As far as the physical books, and I read fiction, I do the same thing, one nonfiction, one fiction. I always read as a, print because I don't like ebooks. But finding that time is a lot harder. I tend to, if I'm in the middle of cooking and something's cooking for, I can leave it for 15 minutes. I'll actually sit, our stairwell is adjacent to our kitchen dining area, and I'll sit in the stairwell and hide in the stairwell, and I'll read for like 10 minutes. And that's what I do. Sure. I take these little snippets of time because I've tried reading at night, like when I get home, and especially if I'm doing like a late shift at the library or something, I'm getting home at 9 o'clock, eating dinner, and then I'm, comatose. I can't focus on it. I can't focus on reading. Yeah. So I have to find these other snippets of time. Sometimes on the weekend, I'll sneak upstairs and disappear for a little while and read. Or if it's nice that I like to read outside, I'll take a little time, I'll take coffee, and I'll sit outside and read for like 20 minutes if, there's nothing else going on.
Yeah, that's
but it is really difficult because there's always something demanding your time.
I agree with you. Life moves too fast.
Yeah.
At least on my end of things. And
you're on a motorcycle or
an airplane. So there's just very little time to sit for any length and absorb something. So for me, it's catch as catch can. Mm-hmm. The minute I have like a moment, I jump to one thing and then I get called to something else. And, that's just the way life is right now for me. So, it's little bits and pieces here and there. That's probably the other reason why it takes me 10,000 years to get through a book, so.
Yeah, Erin, I'm the same way. When I get home after, a long day, sometimes a double, and I have to cook dinner and get everyone to bed and everything, I'm too tired to read. I know I'd read a page and I'd be out like a light. So most of my reading in print I do on my lunch break here. I sit in my car and I read. That's when I do all of my fiction reading because I can just focus on reading in print. But it's nice because I always have my book on the passenger seat of my car. So, if I go to get my hair cut or,
there you go.
Going anywhere, I know I have that with me. So that's a nice practice if you are trying to fill in, you can chip away at it by just you'll find, now that time's being filled with scrolling on your phone, but you'll find, those opportunities, you get a few of them here and there. And if you have a book in your pocket or close by, you can read a couple pages. And then the audiobooks, I use Libby every day. Driving in the car, I listen to an audiobook. Cooking dinner, I'll have my headphones in maybe, or doing the dishes or something. I'll have an audiobook in. So, my wife is... Hi, Meg. She's listening. She can read. She's a voracious reader, and but she puts me to shame. I'll be lucky to get through 2 books a month. That's like a good month. Yeah. So you just got to chip away.
Yes, that's
right. Take the opportunities when you can.
That's right. I find just like what you're saying about like reading in between appointments and things like that. There, I have found a purpose in my life for ebooks. I don't particularly enjoy reading an ebook just because of the mechanics of it, like this kind of press this way to page forward at one page at a time. Like sometimes I like to, like I said before, I like to zip back to a certain portion of my book. But many times, believe it or not, you might think this is a waste of resources, but I may get an audiobook and then I may also buy the ebook of it. To keep it on my phone for those little snippets of time. And I'll flip through to the ebook, like to where I left off in the audiobook and kind of read while, that mode works, while reading, works. So, having a collection of ebooks, my collection of ebooks is a little redundant with what I'm physically reading or listening to because, I'm just keeping that as an extra format. That's convenient, for me. So,
I actually do that if I'm not enjoying a book, just so I can get it through it quicker. I did it recently. Exactly. I don't even want to mention the book, but
don't give it any air.
I'm like, it's the completionist mentality where like, I know I don't enjoy this book, but I need to get through it. So I'll listen to it. And, when I'm done listening to it, if I have a chance, I'll start picking it up and reading it. So just to get through it twice as fast.
Alex, I am like, if I'm reading something I hate, I'm pulling the emergency slide and I'm off the plane. That's it. I'm out. Gone.
Me too. If I'm like less than a quarter of the way through the book and I'm dragging, I drop it.
That's it.
And I'll try to figure out what it is. Is it the writing? Is it this? And now I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't like it. It's just not working for me at this time because that can change too. Because sometimes
that can.
You're more patient for something.
That's right.
That's a little more maybe lyrical and slower. And sometimes you're just not. Sometimes your brain is just not there. Your brain wants something like it wants a thriller or it wants something funny. It doesn't want something serious and dramatic. So you just have to be like, no.
Exactly.
I'll keep it on my to read list because I'd like to read it someday, but. Like, I've tried reading Wuthering Heights like 4 times. I can't get through it. And I love Emily Bronte. I love her poetry. I love all the Brontes. I cannot get through Wuthering Heights. And I've just given up now. Just, give me the white flag. I give up. It's fine, and that's okay. That does not make me a lesser person because I have not read Wuthering Heights.
Love yourself as a reader. That's right. That's right. Exactly. It's kind of like cooking, though. When you're reading something, it's all about what your brain has a taste for at that given time. So sometimes you're just not tasting whatever that story is or whatever that nonfiction topic is. And you're in the mood for your taste buds are craving something else, and so you go in a different direction. So,
I guess they'd call that a mood reading.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Which I'm trying to do more of that. Yeah. Not like work through my backlog of books.
Yep.
But I'll read something that I'm interested in at that exact moment. Yeah. And that will help me. I'm finding I'm reading a lot more and quicker if I'm doing that. If I'm reading something I'm interested in at that exact moment instead of. Like, oh, well, I haven't read the whatever, like James Joyce's this book or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I guess now's a good time to read it. And I'll start going through it. Maybe that's a bad example because I love James Joyce, but you get the idea. All right. Well, great. I'm glad I'm not the only one who struggled. It's a universal struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take another break. And when we come back, we will get to our main topic of the episode, jobs we had before we became a librarian. Okay, we are back, and we are now going to discuss the topic at hand. What jobs did we have before we decided to become a librarian? I know, Erin, you've had a few titles. It's been a long journey to becoming a librarian. I feel like it has been for me too. Jonathan, you have a very mysterious past. We're going to dig into this. Who wants to go first? I don't mind starting off.
Yeah, why don't you start off?
Sure. It's no mystery to anybody who's talked to me about this topic at all or talked to me about anything because I always find a way to bring it up. I was a cook for many, many years before becoming a librarian, and I had a brief year and a half where I was an actual chef.
Ooh.
So that is a lot of my work history. I know it may sound like it doesn't really translate well to librarianship, but there are some skills I picked up along the way. But the best job I ever had were the bookends of my cooking career. The first job I ever had, I was a dishwasher, and I worked my way up to a pizza cook at my local pizza joint back in Rhode Island.
That's right.
Yeah, I know it wasn't New York pizza, but I liked it.
We won't judge you.
It was just the best job and especially when I became a cook, it was a good job. Dishwashing is not a romantic job at all. But by the time I became a cook, at least the restaurant I worked at, it was mostly teenagers who ran the restaurant, and I was 16, and I was pretty much like at the top of the bill. So it felt good knowing, especially because I started at the bottom and worked my way up, I knew every facet of the restaurant. So if anything went wrong or if anyone had any questions, I could answer it. So that felt good, like being like the go-to person. You don't get that when you're 16 years old, like you don't know anything, but I knew that place. So that felt good. And I got to eat free food, and I love food. And this pizza place I worked at, in my opinion, has the best pizza.
Ooh.
So I was experimenting, and I was just eating pizza all day long, and it was the best. So that was, I have good memories from working there. And on the other end, the last cooking job I ever had was at a very, very nice cafe in Newport, where I'm from. And it was a grueling job. It was not a glamorous work environment, but I loved the people I was working with, and I loved one of them so much I married her. So
that's great. Oh my goodness.
So those are like the nice bookends of my cooking career.
Yeah.
Everything in between those two jobs, that 10-year span, are the worst jobs I ever had. So and I'm going to talk about this later because I asked the staff on our break room board what their best and worst jobs were, and there's a lot of similarity in the worst jobs category, and a lot of it is food industry related. So I'm not surprised to see that at all. So that's kind of my experience. I did do I worked for nonprofits and I did writing and I did a lot of other stuff, but that's a bulk of it. And that's where most of my memories come from, like my cooking experience. So I don't recommend it as a career choice for anyone. It is a grueling environment to make your living in. And I my hat's off to anybody who worked their way up to chef and can do that every day, because it's tough. You work every holiday, you work odd hours in a bad environment, usually when you're dealing with hostile people, and it's tough. It's a tough road, but if you have to love food to do it. Like I stopped becoming a cook because I lost my passion for food, and if you can't do it if you're a chef, especially, because you can't go in every day and create new things if you're not passionate about it. So. I kind of get out of there, and luckily my mom's, one of her best friends was a librarian at the University of Massachusetts, and I was confiding in her that I wasn't happy with what I was doing, and she's like, well, have you thought about being a librarian? I'm like, that's a job? It never clicked. Like, I knew it was a job, but it never made it. But I'd spent my whole life in libraries, and it never clicked.
Right.
And then went to grad school, and the rest is history.
Wow. Alex, you made me chuckle when you were sharing about your stories at working at the pizza restaurant. When I was an exchange professional in Italy, in Calabria, the southern region of Italy, with Rotary International. And Rotary sent me over to compare and contrast American and Italian libraries, which was fascinating work. But I do have to tell you, there are great rivalries between neighboring towns in Calabria, over who makes the best pizza. So, I made a very bad faux pas outside of Naples. We had just left Naples and went to another town, and that town gave us their pizza. I've had pizza every which way you can possibly have in this universe in southern Italy. But we went to this next town, and I made the mistake of saying to that town, oh my gosh, this is the best pizza I have had. And Naples so got their hair all messed up and just all twisted over that. I thought that I was going to get thrown off the exchange, but pizza is very passionate in Italy. That's a thing.
It's passionate in Long Island.
Absolutely a thing. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is here in New York too. I was at a birthday party a few years ago with one of my kids, and somehow the topic of the best pizza in Sayville came up, and it got contentious. And I was sitting there like...
There are camps, yes.
Yes, there are definite camps, and it was, I'm not going to say who liked what, or I'm not going to get into that, but it was really interesting. I was like, wow, okay, this is very serious. And I've had the Chinese restaurant discussion with people, and it's, I like this place, I like this place, but the pizza was a whole nother world. It was like, no, their crust is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, okay.
It's not that bad in Rhode Island, but in New York.
It's civilized in Rhode Island, is it, Alex? Is that?
Yeah, we're very civil.
That's great. Erin, I'm glad you didn't share what your favorite pizza is, because if I'm from the other camp, that I just may need to leave this interview, because I don't know if I can stay here.
I would have edited it out anyways. I don't. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Yeah, sure.
I came into being a librarian later. I've only been a librarian for several years now, and I'm older than Alex. Probably older than you too, actually, Jonathan.
I don't know.
Well, we're not going to.
We're going to have to chit chat afterwards.
We're not going to get into that. But anyway, basically, I spent a lot of time as a young person, not really knowing what to do with myself. I changed my majors a whole bunch of times. I went to nursing school briefly. I wanted to be a paleoanthropologist for a little while, so I got my bachelor's in anthropology, and then decided that wasn't going to work for me, and just a lot of. And in that time period, having lots of different kinds of jobs, I've had several jobs in laboratories. One of my favorite jobs was actually in a vet lab. So, which you don't think about there being veterinary laboratories, but there are, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
And you wouldn't think of that as being like a fun job, but it had its serious aspects, obviously. when you look at, a blood sample of, a dog or something, and you see like all of these issues, you go, oh, that's not good. And you feel bad. But at the same time, people in labs are really an interesting, eccentric group of people that choose to work in laboratories and be laboratory technicians. So it's just a really interesting mishmash of people from a lot of different backgrounds. We all got along well. So it made it, and you said just earlier, Alex, how, working with people and working with a good group of people makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
So a lot of work in that laboratory, flavor laboratory, that was interesting. It was a flavor and fragrance lab.
Oh, wow. That must have been interesting.
It was really interesting because you don't think about, again, that's something else you don't think about, all the chemicals, honestly, that go with the flavors, and there are natural ones and artificial ones, and how little of it actually goes into an end product, but all of the, that you can have like a flavor chemist, that's a job.
Yeah. Sure.
And you run a department, and so that was interesting. But I also worked at a dermatologic surgeon's office. I was a surgical assistant for a little while.
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting, and that was also a really great group of people. So that definitely, goes high up on the scale of jobs. Some of my worst jobs were when I was really young. I worked in like a retail clothing store, which I'm not going to say what store it was, and I worked there for about 3 days. And I was like, this is terrible, and I hate this. So I left. And the same with I was a telemarketer for a nonprofit, which I really believed in the nonprofit, but being a telemarketer is so difficult. This was in like the 90s, probably the mid 90s, when telemarketing was like a big thing, and people were just so rude.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm calling from a nonprofit. I'm not trying to get you to buy something. I'm trying to get you to help an organization, but so that lasted about 3 days as well.
I could never.
But eventually, becoming a librarian became like this aha moment, kind of like you were talking about. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine whose stepson was going to library school. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do because my kids I had been out of work for a little while raising my kids. And I was just working part-time and trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. And, I thought about it. Well, I love libraries. I'm in libraries all the time. I love research. I'd like to have a career where I help people. And it was like this aha moment. I went home and I had a discussion with my husband, and he just kind of jumped up and was like, why didn't we think of this earlier? It's like, why didn't we think of this earlier? But we didn't. So I went to grad school.
Excellent.
And and so here I am.
Here you are.
Here I am.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
That's great. I think, looking back, one of the best jobs that I had, not for the environment, but for the task that I did, was in college, I actually worked in a language lab. And one of my jobs, I had a few interesting jobs in the language lab. I was a foreign language major, Russian and Spanish, in undergrad school. And so they gave me a job in the language lab. And my job was to record the satellite news broadcasts from all over the world. Because, depending on what time it was on the other side of the world, like I would be taping that country's news. So every night that I worked at the lab, I would watch the news from Malaysia, and I would see the world through Malaysia's eyes. And then the satellite would change, and I would have to tune into France, and I would be watching TF1, TF1, I think that was the channel, and I would be, or A2 was the other channel that I would tape, and I would watch the French news and see the world from their eyes. And then the satellite would go to Mexico, and I would be watching the Mexican news, and it was only a half hour. So, in a 4-hour span, I could watch a few different countries, and then I would wind up watching Vrinya, which was the Russian main newscast for the evening, where they kind of wrapped up the day's happenings in Russia. And so that was one of the most fascinating jobs I had. That was fun. I had that for 4 years. And then just working with the foreign language department, I worked with people from Japan, people from Austria, people from Germany, of course, Russia and Poland. And it was just fascinating. Mexico, people from all over the world. So that was a great job to have. And it was truly an education. So that really fueled my love for what's going on in the world, and for, international politics. And then also for different cultures, and learning from different perspectives and things like that. And that probably fed a little bit to becoming, a librarian, and because we're constantly exposed to different perspectives in this profession.
Sure.
Everyone has a different perspective that comes into the library, and and they're looking for help to further their journey, their personal journey on that. So the language lab was an awesome job to have. And then another fun job that I had, which I've spoken to Alex a little bit about this, was I was a page, so someone who shelves books and things like that at SUNY Stony Brook, and I worked in the special collections department.
Oh, nice.
And so my job was to help catalog, like the very beginning of the cataloging phase. We had a donation of books from the 1800s in special collections. All of the books were very old and rare books. The majority of books that I dealt with as a page over at the university, the majority of the books were from the 1800s. Those were the newer books. And then I did have one instance where they brought me to a safe, a very large walk-in safe, and we needed to move one particular book. So I had to put gloves on, a mask on, and the book was from the 1400s. And so they very gently placed it in my hands, and my job was to just hold it while they went and got a cart. And it was this enormous tome. It was very heavy, with buckles over the side. It looked like it had come from like a ship someplace, and sat on a ship forever, regarding somebody's journey or something like that. And that was a very fun thing. But it was a dirty job, I have to say that. Old books, because they were the outside of the book was comprised primarily of leather. When leather gets old, it rots. And so there was this phenomenon called red rot that got on everything, like every bit of your clothes. You could never go there with anything good, on you, because you'd be full of red rot by the end of the day handling all the old books. But my job was to literally photocopy the title page and the verso of every book that had been donated into this collection, with a serial number, and that went to the insurance company so that we could insure this huge collection. But that was a lot of fun. It gave me a great interest for history, and the fact that at one point in our existence, reading was not this thing we do fast. We don't buzz through a book. Reading was really meant for leisure time, and it was a very privileged activity. And so books were designed differently. There was an art to the way a book was designed. A thought went into the inside cover. There would be like these beautiful paisleys, like that would be on the inside covers of these books. People took time. The page were gold leaf pages, and there was this value. They weren't mass produced to just get it out there, like they are today. It was really valued. Reading was this valued thing. So that was just kind of like a segue that brought me into, libraries. And I have a degree, another master's, it's a master's in divinity. And so part of that field is studying people's journeys and being fascinated with the journey that people are taking in their life. And so this love of books that I had, this love of information, and then a love for learning people's journeys really fed into, becoming a librarian. And because, just from working the reference desk, we spend a lot of time listening to people's journey. And sometimes we want to hear those details, and sometimes we don't want to hear those details, and we get them anyway. And we have to be curious about the journey. And part of it is like the person comes to our information desk and they're asking us to take a journey with them, help them continue to learn something or find an answer for something. So just kind of through my background, I've kind of learned to stay curious, to be curious about people's journeys, what brought them to where they are now, and what are they interested in becoming. Because the library is all about the business of helping people become something,
right?
Different and new from what they were. So, it kind of all feeds into being a librarian and staying curious. And it definitely helps the community outreach librarian in me, especially working with people's journeys and community.
Yeah, very poetic.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to add anything because that's such a perfect way to end the episode.
It's all right.
Here's one way to end it. Red Rot, that's the name
Yes,
of your
go ahead.
Librarian Biker Gang. That's the name of
Is
your
that-
gang.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point, Alex. Exactly.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think we've covered it, and that you gave me an idea for a future topic we can do is your favorite reference question. Maybe
Ooh.
I'll put that up on the board. We can
How
do that
about
in a future.
juiciest reference
Juiciest
question?
reference question, yeah.
Great.
That'll be an after hours episode.
I hope so.
Okay, Jonathan, Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks to both of you.
I hope I
Thank you.
can count on you to come back in a future episode.
Absolutely.
Sure,
This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye now.